Check, 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 check. Woo. Okay. I was nervous about getting the stream started, so got it started. Going on mute.
it really is a treat.
He's online.
Huh?
Yeah, you can also hear me because I ain't
Can you
mute.
hear it? Can you hear it?
Probably.
Hello?
Oh, here he is.
Sup, mate?
Right, my brother's here as well. He wants to say hello. Right, hang on. Can you hear him? Say hello, Luke.
Yeah, what's your brother's name?
Wait, hang on. First of all, are we streaming?
Yeah.
Right, well, unfortunately, he's not. Right, first of all, if you... Can you mute the stream, first of all, just in case? I don't want anything, non-PG to be going on the stream.
What non-PG is gonna happen here? I don't even know. I don't even know how to mute the stream to be. Wait. Yeah, whatever.
I need to accept the invite from Dark Inferno. There we go. No, so at least on PS5, if you go over to the live stream, there's just like a button. It says like live stream, and then you can just press mute on it. This is starting in 5 seconds. Too late.
Yeah, I think I already chose to. I don't know. Yeah, I can't. My bad. I can't figure out. Tell your brother what's up, though. Cool to.
Yeah, he's listening in. He's listening in. You can say hello. Say hello, Luke.
Hello, PJ.
What's up, Luke? How you doing?
How you doing? This is Chills, the guy who normally crashes week in, week out, and ends up retiring. But
oh wait, for
taking
real?
a week off, hopefully be back in a
Yeah, Chills.
A couple of more retirements.
I forgot to mention that.
Oh,
yeah, Chills
rock
F1.
on.
When I was like, Chills
Nice.
F1, he's at the back of the grid. Oh yeah, I've just realised I got spectate. I forgot to do that. That was quick.
Oh man.
Imagine that, I end up on the grid again. I tell you what though, next
Bro.
week I might have to sign up as a reserve for Saudi Arabia. I might have to ditch the commentary box for.
Yeah, no,
a last
I realized you haven't done that once this season. We talked about it before, but yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think it's best. I mean, like, definitely if you want to sign up for a reserve, like, go for it and shit. But, like, it would be a little weird if, like, just a reserve was dropping in every other week to, like, fight for the wins. Like,
That is strange. I think I'm going to make it as a one-off for Saudi Arabia, just as it's a new track
Nice.
and everything. And what I'll probably do is I'll commentate for the qualifying, and then I'll just start last on the grid, and then I'll leave for the race.
okay,
But even so,
thankfully, we have a
take it
full
away.
grid. So, we have a full grid, so no room for sick boys. Sorry, you'll be the reserve driver in the
That is
best
unfortunate. I'm going to have to sign myself up as number one reserve. Even so, do you want to take it away from the formal intro?
I don't know. Sometimes I like to wait until like after qualifying because I'm sort of realizing that like hardly anyone watches through all of qualifying. So I think for qualifying, let's just chat it out. We don't need to do anything formal quite yet. And then once we get into the race, I'll introduce us and get us going. But
Very interesting. When you get that new computer
Yeah.
after Christmas, well, hopefully, if you get that new computer, I'm looking forward to seeing how incredible those edits are going to be. The highlight reels, I'll be missing them.
I know,
not
me
gonna lie.
too. Yeah, it would be really fun. Got high hopes for it, but we'll see. Hey, this race, and I guess I was gonna save this for sort of, again, parts where people might be watching. But do you know what's special about this race, Sick Boy?
I've got no idea. You got to tell me.
This is the first official race in Virtual Formula League where we are returning to a circuit. That is
Very true.
the first repeat of Season 2. And, gonna give you a little trivia quiz here. Do you know what happened? Who won in Monza Season 1?
Well, yeah, if I remember correctly, actually, I believe I won the first race in Monza. Then what happened was the race got cancelled because half of the grid had an infinite yellow flag glitch, and then Robert DS won in Monza. So actually, we've had 2 victories. But
You are correct, yeah.
that is very true, and I'm still kind of salty.
You came
Oh, yeah?
second. No, yeah, I know. I remember that because pretty much everybody except for you got screwed, and you were just off on your own and won the race. And then everybody was like, "Well, we sort of have to do that race, even though like you just straight up won it by a long shot." So a little unfortunate, but ended up making for a more exciting championship final, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And it was annoying, that whole safety car glitch. But the only reason why I lost the second race, actually, is because for some reason, I pitted for intermediate tyres. Like another set of inters, like with like 2 laps to go. I've got no idea why I did, to be honest. I was like, just kind of doing it for no reason. But most importantly, though, I'm on board with Luke. Hey, it's Luke here.
Yeah, me too. I was
Williams
hoping
teammate
you
of
were. I was
Steph.
hoping you were seeing that. Yep.
Yeah, and I just caught a Steph special Williams slipstream down
Where did you
the
pick
main
that up,
straight. Exactly. Well, Steph's the mastermind behind those slipstreams, but he just cut turn 1 to chicane, and around Curve Grande, he gave him another slipstream, which is interesting. But he went purple sector 1. He's probably going to be on purple sector 2, to be honest. So it's interesting. In fact, he's in sector 3 right now, just about to come around Parabolica, the final corner of the track. So it'll be interesting to see what time he can set. And this is a great time, actually, to mention the Sick Boy Super Lap for this week is a 1:20.518.
Ooh.
And it's almost beaten by Luke. Only
Yeah.
300ths of a second of
And
the
that
Sick Boy
goes
Super Lap.
to show how much that slipstream helps, because when you're doing those laps in practice, you can't get the AI to give you a slipstream. So Luke already challenging that Sick Boy Super Lap. Do you remember what pole was last season?
Oh, unfortunately, I've got absolutely no idea. It was so long ago that I think you're going to have to check what pole was. But just as you mentioned slipstream, actually, I've already kind of done the calculations a little bit. And the slipstream down the start-finish line, of course, you want to go for the slipstream at the start of the lap because the start-finish line is just so early down that start-finish straight. And that actually saves about 0.2 of a second. Now, for a slipstream around Curve Grande, I have no idea, but that would save even more time. As Dark Inferno actually sets the second fastest lap now with a 1:20.7, or just shy of. That's putting into P2.
You want to know something interesting? The pole position from season 1 was Connor Kidd with a 1:19.045.
And I know exactly why. So it's really complicated, but back before the patch, and it was a glitch that I use quite often. You could cut turn 1 and about turn 4 as well. So the first 2 chicanes, and there's this kind of sausage curve on the inside. I think a good driver to spectate to kind of demonstrate this would maybe be Chico Martins 02. He's on his outlap. He's going to be approaching turn 1 in a minute. But essentially, there's a white little patch of curb on the inside of turn 1 and turn 4, and pre-patch you were able to completely cut that, and that would now if you cut it, it's not that it invalidates your lap, it's that it completely flips your car and completely takes it out. So it's just on the right here. There's the little curb, and you used to be able to ride completely over that, and that meant that you could literally go 50 miles an hour faster into turn 1, and then turn 4. Which Chico's actually approaching just in a minute, you were able to skip even more time, almost like half a second. So, yeah, you were probably quite surprised to see pole 1.5 seconds faster. But as you can see right there, but you could literally fully cut the entire turn. But they changed it in the last update, in fact. So it slowed down everyone's time by literally 1.5 seconds. It is that major of a change.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was excited to see, what's the growth in driver talent across the whole board across these 2 seasons when we return to Monza, but then also individual performances, like seeing if Dark has gotten 3/10 quicker or whatever. But unfortunately, those comparisons aren't quite valid, so we do have new times to beat, which again is looking like a mid 1:20.
Well, did you catch that, by the way, PJ? So Cameroon's just been given a 5-place grid penalty for a massive collision between him and Cole was epic. Around the really quick Ascari chicane, turn 6 and 7, 5, 6 and 7 in fact, the really fast chicane towards the end of the lap. Cole was epic, was on a fastest lap. He was on a flying lap. Cameroon was going incredibly slowly. I think he was on his outlap through Ascari. And he completely went into the back of Cameroon. So Cole went into the back of Cameroon. Cole was epic, lost his wheel. He's DNF from qualifying, and Cameroon's been given a 5-place grid penalty.
Man, what a bummer.
That's quite major. It's completely ruined Cole's lap.
And as we see quite a lot of drivers make their first trip back into the pits. Let's give some credit to Luke, man, returning Williams to the top of the table. The new Williams driver going pole for now. I'm sure better times will be put out as the session goes on, but exciting to see. Good for Luke.
Yeah, and especially my eyes on Steph at the moment, to be honest. He's right behind Luke, actually trying to get a Williams slipstream off him, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Luke was going too quickly around Curve Grande to actually give him enough of a slipstream. And as you saw that, that's exactly what happens. You used to be able to skip. In F1 2020, you used to actually be able to run over that orange sausage curb. So the lap times on Monza were even quicker. But in the new game, if you go over that curb, your car literally goes to space. And we just saw that with Steph right there, and it's completely ruined his lap, and hopefully he hasn't damaged his car or anything. But,
and can I turn your attention to Terramax? This is a nice driver to watch. You can see he's getting a slipstream from B-Rob down the pit lane straight, and I sort of want you to try to watch his steering wheel and watch how he's driving, because as we know, this is his first season on wheel, and it's his 4th race now, so I'm wondering how comfortable he's getting with that wheel. We know that he can go as quick as anyone on the grid, so I'm hoping we start to see that pace sooner or later.
Yeah, exactly. He locked up massively into turn 1 there. I actually saw, I could hear the tyres screeching a bit, and what's interesting is B-Rob hasn't decided to cut the first chicane and give him a slipstream round Curve Grande. Even so, it's a brilliant... Oh, hang on! He's just completely oversteered. Luckily, he didn't DNF. I'm actually really surprised that was only his front wing.
I don't know what settings or assist he's got on, but like he did not apply that much throttle coming out of that turn, and his car just flew so quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I think that may be down to the really low rear downforce setups that you've got on Monza. So the setup that I actually did for the Sick Boy Super Lap, it was something ridiculous. It was like 7 on the front, but 2 on the rear, because you need that crazy. You need the rear to step out to get rotation around the first 2 chicanes. So that's why you've got such an extreme difference between the front and rear downforce. But as we just saw with Kid, it means that you can completely lose it if you do give it a bit too much throttle. But like you said, it seems odd for him to lose it that much. I wonder if Taramax has only just started to lose some of his assists. Like I said, he locked up quite a bit into turn 1, so maybe this is his first race without traction control or ABS. It will be interesting to find out.
And I mean, once you get that wheel set up, it really sort of goads you into diving into more of a simulator experience, and you want to take all the assist off so you feel like you're actually driving the car. So no doubt the ceiling for pace on wheel is much higher, but as you can see, as you can ask Steph, getting used to it is a whole ordeal. It can take quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you start moving over to the wheel for the first time. Yeah, you really are definitely slower than you are with the controller. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1, but that's just due to drivers kind of slowing down.
Dark
we've
is
got
on a personal best right now. He was about 0.2 up through Sector 1.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Yeah, 0.2. That's remarkable. He's just about to hit the Sector 2 line right now, and he's still 0.2 up. So that Sector 2 was about the same.
It would get him onto pole, so if you can keep the pace
up. But in
up.
all honesty, yeah, that looked like a very slow Ascari. He kind of hit the inside curb on the end of Ascari there, and he had to kind of gear down almost to keep the car stable. But it'll be interesting to see whether he can squeeze as much performance out of Parabolica as possible. He's hugging the inside line. And he only improves 1 position and by 0.05 of a second. So his Ascari cost him 1.5 of a second.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate because that was on course for pole position if he was 0.2 up. Unfortunately, he's kind of lost it in the final, in the middle sector even. So
yeah, definitely showing that he has the potential to go fastest here. Ferrari boys are coming out of the pit lane once more, and you can tell it's race 4, round 4. Teammates are getting a little more comfortable with each other, so I sense a lot more teamwork and strategy coming into play in these races.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just on board. I'm not actually too sure who to kind of follow right now. A lot of people are in the pits. It's because we've kind of reached that awkward stage of qualifying. We've probably got about, we've got about 5 minutes left. So people are kind of waiting until the 3-minute mark in which they all leave the pits.
Keep an eye on
and
Pitt.
go for
He's
that
coming
fastest
across
lap.
the line. Pitt goes up to P4, improves by 1/10.5 on his personal best.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm just trying to find which drivers are actually on a fastest lap. Robert DS has just dived into the pits. Carper 99, I think he's just messed up and he's just invalidated his lap around Ascari, but he was almost half a second up from his previous time, which is interesting. Cameroon is on a flying lap right now,
Dark
also going
takes-
around Ascari, but he's just lost it, and luckily he hasn't DNF, but Cameroon just lost it around Ascari there.
Dark just took pole, and now we can see the two Ferrari boys have swapped orders, so it is B-Rob's turn to go for the flyer. He's getting the slipstream into turn 1 and 2, and I'm going to ride on board to see if B-Rob can improve on his lap time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on board with B-Rob as well as he goes around Curve Grande. Like I said, it will be extremely interesting how he approaches that turn 4 chicane. Now, as you can't cut the inside. And I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit slow on the exit, but it was definitely stable. At least he hasn't lost the rear like we've seen a lot of drivers do today, as he just goes around Lesmos 2 right now, and it's a brilliant Lesmos 2, in all honesty.
Yeah,
As he approaches the... Oh yeah, go ahead.
Monza definitely is a track where, especially as we see B-Rob enter Sector 3 1/10 up, it's tough to put together that absolutely perfect lap. Tough not to have a weak exit coming out of a certain turn, you know. There are a lot of parts of this track that you can either really nail or really lose it, and sometimes playing it safe and going a bit slow is enough to get you still competitive. Here comes B-Rob. We'll see what his time is. Definitely not going to challenge for pole, but it will be P3. Improves by nearly half a second. And again, you can see how much time left there is on that lap that we can pull out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Something of note is that I think we finally reached a point in which drivers are going 2 by 2 around this track, ready for a slipstream. The two Hasses are next to each other, and you have the two... I believe that is the two Williams drivers of Steph and Luke, and it seems like because Steph's in front, Steph is going to give Luke a tow, perhaps to even get on pole. But I think I'm going to be following Sky right now. He's getting a slipstream from Oda. Oda's kind of sacrificed his qualifying, but there's still 3 minutes left on the clock. He's down in P14, but he's given a great slipstream to Sky right now, who's going round the first chicane, and it was a little bit slow, in all honesty, on the exit for Sky. But Oda's actually cut the first chicane to give him a slipstream around Curve Grande, but unfortunately we didn't see a slipstream. In fact, I'm going to tab all the way over to... Hey, it's Luke here now, actually. He's receiving a tow off Sky, off Steph, I do apologise, around Curve Grande as he approaches that turn 4 chicane. And he's 1.4 tenths of a second up, and that puts him exactly matching Dark Inferno's time.
All right,
so it will be extremely interesting. Yeah, whether they can beat each other by a millisecond even.
Look at this pace from Luke, man. I mean, love to see it. He's battling Dark towards the end, and I really need us to pay attention to P13 here, Mr. Robert Diaz, who has 2 minutes left to get a competitive lap in. He is our Drivers' Championship leader, and he still needs to get a solid lap in.
Yeah, well, Luke is now 1.7 tenths of a second up as he just approaches Parabolica right now. And unless he screws up Parabolica, PJ, this is going to be pole position for the Williams driver. And he right on the white line there on the exit of Parabolica.
Fantastic,
but it seems to me like it is going to be pole position. But he misses out by 16 milliseconds. Ladies and gentlemen, he does improve, but it isn't enough for pole.
Man, I'm going to go on board with Robert Diaz for this important lap now, but yeah, it must have been somewhere in that last sector, even though I agree. I thought he took that last Parabolica to the edge and did it well, but must have lost time there somewhere. That could be a difference in setups, but that was a lot lost in that last sector.
Yeah, that did seem strange, to be honest. And he was just so close as well. He was right on the limit of getting that pole position. Ended up missing out by such a small margin, but we've still got 3 minutes left on the clock. And it seems like, I'm unsure whether Sky or Oda is going to be the driver who receives the slipstream. In fact, Oda has received a slipstream. He's going around Ascari right now, and he's 6 tenths of a second up but he's invalidated on the exit of Ascari.
Oh.
That's heartbreaking. He was 0.6 of a second up, and that would have put him into the 120.7s. That would have put him P5. But unfortunately, it's not enough for Oda.
And meanwhile,
And now
Robert
he's giving
going,
us-
Robert going into Sector 3, only about a 10.5 up or so, so he might improve, but still not quite towards the top of the grid like we would expect him to be.
Yeah, and real quick now, Sky's run out of fuel, and he's just entered the pits, but we haven't got long left in qualifying. We've only got a couple of minutes, so I think that is literally qualifying over for the two Hasses in P13 and P15.
Yeah, it sure
I
is.
mean, Oda's also run out of fuel, so that's it. P13, P15 for the two Hasses. That's unfortunate. That is not a good result.
Terramax is finished, Mirko is finished, they'll stay the same. Robert has retired, he got up to P9 on that last lap.
I think the driver to watch right now is Poppy. He's 0.2 of a second up, just on the exit of Ascari. He's just entering Parabolica in a moment. And if he does end up nailing Parabolica and getting 0.2 of a second up, that will put him in P5, just behind B-Rob, on the same row as Entui Pachulo. But he's got to finish the lap first, ladies and gentlemen. And he does, and it does put him in P5.
Alright. Nice lap from Poppy, who...
Oh, hang on. There's been a major collision between Luke and... Yes, it has! He's got a 5-place grid penalty. And it's after the race has finished. Now, this is the question, ladies and gentlemen. Should Luke receive the time penalty? His AI must have been controlling the car. So Luke lost it on the exit of Lesmos 1, and whilst his car was bouncing off the wall, he collided with Entui Pachulo, and he has just been awarded a 5-place grid penalty. That means Luke will start from P7, alongside his Williams teammate of Steph 1210, who's in P8. This is extremely interesting because, I mean, obviously you didn't catch that, PJ, but qualifying had finished. Luke binned it on the exit of Lesmos 1, and he was not in control of the car anymore, and this is just down to us not having ghosting enabled.
Man.
Pachulo went around that blind corner of Lesmos 1, went into the back of Luke, and Luke's been awarded a 5-place grid penalty. That is heartbreaking and quite controversial, to be honest.
Interesting. And it's so tough. His best session of the season so far ends with a 5-place drop. Dark will start on pole with a 124. Behind him will then be Connor Kidd and B-Rob in P3. And then right behind B-Rob, interesting enough, is his Ferrari teammate in Tier 2. Poppy, a reserve for Aston Martin this race. So it'll be interesting how much Poppy plays for the home crowd here, as it is worth mentioning that we are in front of Tifosi today. Ferrari needs a big showing. You know how it is with Ferrari and Monza. Gotta show up.
Exactly. And I'm sure as the Ferrari team principal, you're going to be extremely happy with the result. I mean, it really just shows, like, the gap between Tier 1 and Tier 2 in this league is so small. I mean, Poppy is a Tier 2 driver, and he's up there in P5. It's remarkable.
Yeah,
but,
and also interesting that gap between B-Rob and Poppy in P4 and P5. You can see the first four all together by about a tenth or so, and then a little bit of a drop into P5 and onwards. So there we have the grid. Luke will be starting 5 places down in P7. Believe splitting up those Red Bulls. Or no, he would be going behind the Red Bulls.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. He will be in P7, actually on the same row as his Williams teammate, Steph 1210, and the two Red Bulls are going to be on the same row of the grid, ahead in P5, P6. So it'll be interesting to see whether there could be any coordination between the two drivers. I mean, especially when you're running up, you're starting the race alongside your teammate. You definitely do not want to collide with them. It's not going to be good, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. If who's in P2, actually it's Connor Kidd, my driver, it'll be interesting to see whether he can make a move starting obviously on the outside of turn 1. Yeah. It's Dark Inferno who gets the inside line.
Oh,
so it'll be interesting to see.
I'm already nervous for this first turn 1.
Absolutely. I mean, do you want to take it away now? We've got 25 seconds before the formation lap starts. Do you want to give the formal VFL intro?
Welcome, ladies and germs, to VFL Season 2, Round 4. We are racing at the Temple of Speed. It's Monza in Italy, coming at you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and
Peterborough United, as always. Peterborough United. Wow.
Shout out,
England.
all my mates back in Peterborough. And
Incredible.
yeah, it's going to be a great race. We just got done with qualifying, and as always, sort of a high level of parity in this tier so far throughout the first few rounds of the season. Dark always seems to have the quickest pace about anyone in the server, so not quite surprising to see him up there. A return to prominence for Connor Kidd. I'm not sure if this is his best quality appearance, but I think it might be.
Yeah, it's definitely a good. Yeah, it's a great result, even so, and especially with Poppy as well. I think that really does go to show how strong he is. He's won. Yeah. He won the first race in Silverstone, and I know that for a fact. And I think he's performed well in Sochi and race 3 Azerbaijan. I mean, he's definitely leading the Tier 2 championship. And it almost begs the question: is Poppy in the wrong series? I mean, should he be in Tier 1? He's able to qualify P5.
Well, I mean, we had a lot of drivers who joined the Discord after Tier 1 was already full, so how fast they were hardly mattered because the only slots were in Tier 2. So I would expect after this first season to see some sifting through of promoting a few drivers into Tier 1, maybe some of the backmarkers in Tier 1 go down to Tier 2. But yeah, I would also like to point out that last time we were here, Season 1, it was a grid of, I think, 13. Haven't seen that low of a number in weeks in Virtual Formula League. We are, of course, full grid today and just about ready to start as Dark Inferno makes his way to his white little boxy thing.
Oh yeah, his grid slot. What's interesting is to see real quick, and I will make this quick, the drivers who are starting on the mediums. Obviously the top 10 are all on softs, but we've got Mirko in P11, Sky in P13, Carper, Darsan and Skadster all next to each other in 16, 17 and 18, and we've got Cameroon starting from the back of the grid, and they're all on the medium compound. It will be interesting to see if there's an early safety car, because that will shoot those medium runners in the foot. Yep. Even so, I'm going to take control of Cameroon at the very back of the grid, and I think that you should be taking control of one of the drivers at the top, and we'll have a good coverage of the action, hopefully.
I think I will be watching, keeping my eye on B-Rob and Connor Kidd to see which one of them, if either of them, go for a move on pole sitter into turn 1. I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, you can see the opportunity that Connor has for it, going on the inside into turn 1. Won't have to wait much longer. The grid is set. Drivers are ready. Of course, our little graphic grid is glitching out and making us wait so that everybody's tires get nice and cold again. That's how we like it.
According to them, Skadster is actually in P1 right now, ladies and gentlemen, but
yeah,
we'll ignore that. Skadster's left, that's why it was popped up into P1. Anyway.
Oh no, 5 lights at Monza. We are out. Dark gets off to a good start as always, and Connor not gonna get too close to him into turn 1, but B-Rob does get a better start than Connor.
There's a big shunt at the back. Mirko's just been turned around. He's lost his wing, and he's now about 10 seconds behind the rest of the pack. Skadster's been given a 5-second penalty for a collision with Mirko, but another controversy because Skadster's a ghost, ladies and gentlemen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens regarding the penalties.
And Connor and Dark side by side going into our first couple of turns here, as well as Tom Taylor and B-Rob. B-Rob goes a little deep into it. He'll be able to secure P3. Connor going on the inside, falls behind Dark. Their positions will hold. Steph has made his way up to P5 already.
Yeah, there's a bit of contact between Carper 99 and Sky, battling for P13 through turn 4, but luckily neither driver loses any wings or receives any damage. But apart from that, it seems pretty calm down the bottom side of the grid.
Yep,
obviously heading into Ascari, there's no overtaking, which is good to see.
Certainly not. Tom Taylor has been wobbling a bit on these exits with Steph right behind him, driving very smooth. He manages to handle Ascari pretty well, so he'll be safe from the Williams for this straight. Poppy is just a 10th back from Steph, and things are as close as you would expect through the first lap. No overtakes going into the Parabolica. We'll see if anyone can make a move with our first pit lane slipstream into turn 1.
Yeah, extremely interesting start to the race, but an unfortunate start, like
Here
I was
goes
saying,
Steph.
to Mirko. Oh, yeah,
Steph's
go ahead.
going on the inside of Tom Taylor. Oh no, I think he had to pull out of it a bit. He'll slot in behind Tom. He looked on the inside, but I think once he left that slipstream, that pace disappeared. Oh, and meanwhile, Robert, he's already jumped up to P6 and getting around the outside of Poppy now. Just a better exit out of the first 2 turns. Robert,
yeah, but Luke's going
P3.
side by side with Poppy into turn 4, and in fact, he does make it stick. Luke is now into P7.
Man,
Poppy's lost 2 positions in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, and I hardly saw that move from Luke, but it looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it's actually the bottom 4 drivers, Cameroon, Mirko, Taramax and Skadster, have all pitted for a new wing, so obviously that turn 1 crash was larger than I originally expected, which is unfortunate to see.
Cole was epic, able to get around Oda. And at the top, drivers are starting to space out a little bit. A little more scrunch forward as you make your way to the back
Luke's
of the
got
grid.
a mega exit from Ascari, and he's side by side with Rob heading into Parabolica. They are going to take it into Parabolica, and it'll be interesting to see if Rob is given enough room. He's extremely deep on the brakes, and that does actually allow him to take the position. That's great driving from Robert DS.
Yep, great driving from the both of them. Tom Taylor is right on the back of Steph. I believe Steph did get that move through Parabolica. Tom Taylor responding, though, going on the outside into turn 1. He's ahead going into the turn. Will he be able to hold it? No,
Oh, hang on a minute. No, so it's actually Luke and Robert DS were also side by side. They knocked it a bit, and Robert's just been run on the grass. I don't think Tom Taylor saw him on the inside, but it doesn't matter. Robert DS has overtaken both drivers, and he's now in P5. Yeah, and he's obviously eyeing up Steph into P4. That was a crazy move from Rob.
Yeah, 2 moves going on at the same time there. So Steph does manage to get ahead of Tom Taylor, and then Robert sneaks in there as well. Luke is going to be sure to be pressuring Tom Taylor already. Oh, he almost even had him in a part of a track that you don't usually see overtakes in. And Tom certainly seeming to struggle with pace a bit here. I think Luke will be able to get him before entering Ascari.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just watching the rest of the grid, and actually it's quite spaced out, apart from Luke and Tom. They actually went side by side through Ascari, and both drivers actually went off the track. But it's Tom Taylor who actually ends up coming out on top. He's in P6 at the moment. But Luke's getting a great slipstream heading into Parabolica.
And this is shades of... Oh, look at Luke dive around the outside. Tom Taylor will respond. Again, super driving around this Parabolica. It is going to be close down the pit lane straight here between the Red Bull and Williams.
Yeah, and Luke gets DRS. That's crucial. Luke is the one who gets DRS. But so does Tom Taylor. That's crazy. And in fact, it's Poppy who's able to overtake the both of them heading into... They're 3 wide through turn 1.
Yeah, and Poppy's going to manage to pull out. No, Luke will be able to.
Luke gets a great exit out of turn 1, and it's Tom Taylor who ends up losing 2 positions, and he's all the way down into P8. And did you catch, by the way, PJ, that Taramax is retired in the pits last lap, which is unfortunate.
I did. I'm not sure what that's about. Ooh, as Steph manages to hold on to his car. Shades of, what was that, 2019 Monza for Sebastian Vettel, where couldn't even, I think he had to retire in qualifying and then barely even got to race. Tough for the Ferrari driver. Thankfully, B-Rob holding steady in P3. Taramax will get his pace back. I'm not worried. Good shout out to you, buddy, if you're watching. All the support for you.
Yeah, just something of note. Chico Martins has just lost it on the exit of, I believe that was Lesmos 1.
Oh, and so is Cole and Oda going into Ascari. Cole and Oda lost it, and
it's a virtual safety car. Sky's just lost it on the exit of Ascari, and he's in the wall, and he's lost his wing, in fact, and Oda's now overtaken him.
Yep, we have Cole without a wing, we have Sky without a wing. Oda does still have one, but I would expect him to pick, because he must have some damage. How did...
full course safety car, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, full safety car, and now we see all these drivers going into the pits. The front 2 did not. B-Rob was the first to pit, so Robert takes over P3. And I wonder, I think the best move there was to pit.
And Chico Martins is just DNF'd. That's just come up on the board, unfortunately. But yeah, just as a rundown, because it happened so quickly, the first incident was Chico Martins lost it on the exit of Lesmos 1. He went in the gravel. He then oversteered and lost his wing. As that was happening, it was, what was it, Oda, Cole and Sky were 3 wide into Ascari, which you never want to see. Sky was the one who got the best exit, but on the exit as Ascari, he obviously gave it too much acceleration because he ended up completely spinning over, losing his wing, and we called out the full course safety car. Extremely interesting. And Cameroon, I do feel for him. He got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car, and now he's received a 5-second penalty for entering the pit lane, and he can't even serve his drive-through because we got a safety car. Yeah, so that is heartbreaking for Cameroon. His race is really taking a turn for the worst. I hate to see it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing Dark and Connor may not have expected the full safety car to be brought out as they were making their way through Sector 3. So I feel like B-Rob, who's on fresh tires and is going to catch up to the back of... Oh, no. Okay, so the top 3 going into the pits now, and I believe they will still maintain their positions.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tight. I think B-Rob's kind of giving it everything, but I do think you're right. I think it's going to be closer than we think, but I do believe he's probably going to come out on top. In fact, we've got Robert DS, who is actually in 3rd position, and in fact, it's incredibly close with B-Rob, but he's had to respect the delta.
Yeah.
I hate to see it, but he is going to come out ahead of Robert DS. That is unfortunate. Robert DS all the way down into P5 now, in fact.
Yeah, well, when... that was the original track order, was those front 3 and then Robert in P4. Darsan has jumped because he's yet to pit, but things...
yes.
I don't think any overtakes have happened through those safety car pits, and if anything, now Dark and Connor... I mean, B-Rob's got one tiny safety car lap more of wear on these mediums, so maybe a little nicer for Dark and Connor to get it in this lap, but nothing too major.
Yeah, exactly. So the action is kind of calming down a little bit. Almost every single driver's pit, apart from Mirko, who hasn't pit. He's on the softs. And like you were saying, the only other driver who's yet to pit... Hang on a minute, we've just lost a front wing.
Oh,
Luke.
no.
Hey, it's Luke here. It's in fact, the 2 Lukes have collided. Hey, it's Luke here in the Williams. Went into the back of Luke J. Gilly in the McLaren. Both drivers receive a 5-second time penalty, but what's even worse, PJ, is I believe the front wing of Hey It's Luke Here has completely been obliterated. I saw quite a bit of it fly off, a lot of debris. I could be wrong.
It's the right wing. It's the right wing end plate, and Oda gets 3 seconds for cutting. Luke, I mean, impossible to tell if he has damage to his back, but man, Hey, just Luke here. Same thing happened to him last race, and I know how frustrating he was with it, saying that he's going to just put his controller on AI during safety cars, so difficult to see the same thing.
I hate to see it, but yeah, it does look to me like Luke has overtaken the field and is entering the pits. Luckily, he doesn't overtake the safety car and get a disqualification. That's happened to me bit too many times, but yeah, so he does enter the pits. It'll be interesting to see what time he goes on, probably the mediums, and he'll take him to the end of the race. And I'm not actually too sure what he's doing, but he is able to serve that 5-second time penalty in the pitch right now, which is definitely good, but he is on the medium compound. And I think that may allow Skadster to overtake him, to be honest. It's a really long pit stop for Luke. And he's going to come out in last place, and he was in P10.
Yeah.
That is detrimental. What is interesting is that Oda gets a 3-second time penalty for extending track limits under safety car. So if he doesn't get another time penalty or another warning for the rest of the race, there is a chance that he will be able to get that time penalty removed. Because obviously we don't want to receive 3-second time penalties for cutting under safety car, in which nothing is gained. So.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see how that kind of pans out.
Hopefully this will be safety car's last trip around the track. I feel like it's been long enough. We're ready to get racing again. Darsan, Mirko, the only ones who did not use the safety car to pit. And I think it's because they were included in the group of first lap pitters.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. So Darsan's obviously not pit because he started on the mediums, and it was Oda and you're right, Mirko hasn't pit because he ended up losing his wing on lap 1 and he pit around lap 2 for a fresh set of softs.
Oh no.
But Luke's just got on a 5-second time penalty for colliding with Cole was epic now.
Alright,
Which you hate to see.
Can't quite worry about that now because I am focused on this safety car restart from Dark Inferno. A lot of controversy over the last one. Dark gets off cleanly and away we go. Lap 8, Dark in the lead, Connor and B-Rob trail behind him. And I don't think any moves will be made into turn 1. Cross that, Robert going down the inside of Darsan and pulls it off. No, but there's a massive collision at the front. Oh, what happened there? Oh no,
there were 3 cars off. Dark Inferno's off, Tom Taylor's off, Poppy's DNF, Connor Kid's off. That was a major move. I don't know who dive bombed who, but Dark Inferno's received a 5-second time penalty for colliding with Tom Taylor, and it was absolute carnage heading into turn 1, an absolutely massive crash.
Yeah,
and we have B-Rob leading, and Mirko, who got an excellent restart, has ended up overtaking, I believe, 6 cars and is now in P4. And Tom Taylor's just retired from the session, or at least rage quit from the session.
It must have been through turn 2 because I didn't.
Oh, Copper 99 was sideways on the straight heading into Ascari, and he's received a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Skadster. On rejoining the track, Skadster just went into the side of Carper. Carper's spun around another 8 times, and I believe that may be damage to Skadster.
Oh no!
It's absolute carnage,
and
PJ. Luke's just retired on the exit of Ascari. Yeah, on the exit of Ascari, and it's a full course safety car, and we've only done half a lap.
Oh my gosh. And I think, gonna use this opportunity to ask you to maybe rejoin the party chat, just because those pops have started coming in the last few minutes, so might as well try to get a little restart on that. Man!
Yeah, so I'm once again part of the voice chat. I've joined once more. Hopefully the popping stopped, and like I said, this is the last commentary that I'm going to do on this old microphone.
Oh, really? Nice.
Great to get
You're getting it that soon?
Well, I'm not guaranteed. It is my birthday next Tuesday, actually, so hopefully I'll get a microphone upgrade for Thursday for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It will be interesting, and hopefully that mic popping doesn't kind of carry over. It will be a shame if it
definitely,
does,
it definitely won't. So, what I can get, I think, I don't mean to scapegoat without reviewing the footage, so I apologize if this is wrong, but it may seem like Tom Taylor was the one that tried to make a move into turn 1 and might have lost the brakes, sending Poppy sort of into the front 3, which caused the whole pile-up, but... Yeah,
that is unfortunate, because... you hate your name being called out as being like the person who started. Obviously Tom Taylor is probably completely innocent, but you know, when you do such a minor mistake and it really is just that, like missing your braking zone by a couple of meters,
I'm
just ends up causing carnage.
I'm just basing it off of Tom Taylor apologizing in the Discord chat, so
dear.
There may be a bit of...
What's interesting is Oda and Pitt both come into the pits because they've gone for the soft compound. Pitt's gone on the softs, and Oda's gone on the mediums. To be honest, PJ, I've got no idea what Pitt is doing going on the softs for the remaining 17 laps
of this race. And would you think, can mediums even take you to the end comfortably? I would think this would be a perfect time to just put on hards for the duration of the race.
Now, to be honest, we're very lucky with Monza because there's very few high-speed corners. They're either completely flat out or because they're really low speed chicanes, you actually get quite low tyre wear. And when the tyre wear does kick in, it doesn't really matter, apart from obviously through Ascari. So I think that Mirko's onto a really good strategy right now. He's gone for a fresh set of medium tyres because he was obviously on the softs before. He's gone for a fresh set of medium tyres. He's in P8 right now, and those I reckon will take him to the end. Pitt, on the other hand, on the softs, obviously, that may be a stroke of genius from him, but I don't think softs are going to make it to the end.
And you can see our front 3 are all even. We have Darsan in P4, who still is he'll, I think, certainly have to put one more set of softs on before the end of the race. But the front three, do you think that those mediums with 4 laps in them from the last safety car will be able to take them to the end? I mean, that's got to be the strategy, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No driver in the top 4 or the top 5 even are gonna be pitting again.
You don't think you don't think Darsan?
Oh yeah, sorry, Darsan will definitely be pitting.
Okay.
What's interesting is they say that his tyres are 9 laps old. Yeah, they are 10 laps old. I do think that he's had them since the start. You see,
Right.
Darsan's forced to pit. I really don't understand why he didn't pit for hards on the first safety car, but he's really going to be kicking himself now, PJ, for not pitting again in the second safety car. If he comes in, you know, in maybe like 5 laps time for a set of softs to bring him until the end, he's going to come out last, and that's just kind of a fact. So that is unfortunate. And like I said, not only one early safety car, 2 safety cars in the first half of this race has really screwed over Darsan. I hate to see it.
Bit reminiscent of the race last weekend in Jeddah, where had a few laps of clean racing, a safety car comes out, and then 10 minutes later we have another safety car after that. Thankfully, no red flags in this race. As we have it, B-Rob is leading the pack with, of course, you guessed it, Robert. No matter where he qualifies, he will end up in contention for the race win. It seriously feels like Robert, it hardly matters where he qualifies because he has such superior pace and race strategy.
Whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
He's just given his wing a knock. Oh, I think I'm making something out of nothing. Mirko,
I know,
I hate to see it. Yeah, he was in P8, but Mirko's in P14. This isn't nothing, ladies and gentlemen. He's just spun on the exit of Lesmos 2, and he's lost all of his positions, and he's now rejoined the safety car in last place.
Oh my gosh. And
I
the
have
safety
no idea
car
what
is in
happened.
this lap.
But that is heartbreaking for Mirko. Just as I was talking about how he's on the best tyres of the pack, he ends up making a criminal mistake. Honestly, that is heartbreaking to witness.
Here we
It'll
go.
be interesting to see. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
one
the safety car restart.
more restart. Let's cross our fingers here. I don't think B-Rob is going to try to get too cute with it.
I mean,
Off he goes.
Yeah, possibly a good start from Robert DS. In fact, Oda makes an early move on pit. In fact, Oda gets a mega restart. He ends up overtaking Skadster as well. He seems to predict when
Robert! Oh no, Robert lost his braking zone and clipped into the back of B-Rob and sort of just took them both into the gravel. He's going to be able to rejoin without any issues, it looks like, down in P10, as well as B-Rob in P5, but one of them's got to have damage, I would imagine. Robert,
yeah, and it's incredibly close heading into the turn 4 chicane. It's like 3 wide, in fact, and it will be interesting to see if anyone's given room, and in fact they are. But I just noticed that heading into turn 1, Oda missed his braking zone completely, and I believe even had to cut the entire chicane, but he obviously had to let through a lot of drivers in order to do so.
I'm
Cole
watching
Epic
Cole, get on
Skadster,
the inside
yeah,
of Epic, and look at
too.
Robert. He's going to piggyback off that, something I feel like Robert is fantastic at doing. He gets past Skadster as well. And another climb back to the top for Robert ahead of him.
Yeah, it's a... Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I'm kind of commentating nothing right now. I'm like, Pitts... Wow, he's broken a bit later than Skadster. Who cares?
Oh, look at Luke Gilly. He's making a move on the inside of Darsan. He pulls it off. Impressive move from him. I'm just going to say that if I had to guess, Robert will have a penalty from that turn 1 move assessed at the end of the race. So something to keep in mind as... Oh, Dark's battling with Pitt.
Yeah, and Dark Inferno actually does get the better exit from Parabolica, and that helps him all the way down the straight, and he's actually able to take P11 heading into the turn 1 chicane. But it's Sky who actually loses quite a few positions, and it's Connor Kidd who's on... He's a bit like a man on a mission right now. He's just overtaken Oda around the outside of Curve Grande. He's now side-by-side with B-Rob heading into the turn 4 chicane. And there's no collisions between the 2 drivers. In fact, there is a little bit of contact on the exit of turn 5.
Oh my gosh, what racing though. And Oda looking to get back on it, going on the inside of Connor Kidd.
But major contact between Tom Taylor and Skadster. Both drivers are now in P12 and P13. And Skadster's come out worse. He was doing donuts on the exit of the turn 4 chicane now. I believe he's actually lost his wing because he's struggling chronically through Lesmos 1. Yeah, in fact, he's slow as anything through Lesmos too. I just need to make sure for confirmation that he has lost his front wing, but I do believe he's received some damage to his car.
Too much action to watch. Cole side by side with Oda here. He might try to make it go through the Parabolica. He's going to slot back in
yield
behind him. Yep, and maybe make a move on this exit down the inside. I don't think it's there. DRS is going to be enabled. And let's cross our fingers once more as we enter turn 1. Our front 3 with a bit of separation out ahead of them. And the real closest battle right now is Cole on Oda. Oda going to go to the inside. Cole will break later, and they're going to go side by side into turn 1. Can they get through turn 2 nicely? Cole, that was some clean driving, and I think Oda will come out with the lead.
Yeah, and another Haas battle right now between Entui Pichulo and Sky. It's Pitt who ends up coming out on top, and Skansted just come in for a fresh wing, so he did have wing damage with that collision between him and Tom Taylor. And there's even more of a battle now between Dark Inferno and Cole. Dark Inferno gets the much superior exit from turn 5, and he's taken P8.
Yeah, both Alpine drivers got past Cole almost on the same corner. Dark had to fight for it a little bit more, and now he's going to have to defend heavily without DRS. Cole is going to be on a mission. Meanwhile, I'm trying to keep track of B-Rob and Connor Kidd, who are about a tenth separated from each other. Coming out of the turn, I forgot the name of. Ascari, of course.
Ascari, yeah. I hate to see it. Yeah, Connor Kidd had so much pace to Ascari, but he had to brake on the exit, and that gave B-Rob a 1.5 tenths of a second gap. But both drivers are going to have DRS now, and they are going to pounce on Darsan.
Yep.
I can guarantee it.
He's
on the
got
exit of
old
Parabolica.
old tires, no slipstream, no DRS. He is food for the two cars in red behind him. First goes B-Rob around the outside. Where's Connor Kidd going to fit in? You know that he wants to get past the AlphaTauri as well. He's going to go down the outside and inside into turn 2 and pull it off perfectly. Amazing overtakes from Connor Kidd. Great stuff. As
and if
Cole
that Dark
got
Inferno,
back, yeah, Cole got back in front of Dark for a little bit, but Dark does come out ahead now.
Yeah, exactly. And Robert DS actually overtakes Oda. He's now sitting into P6. But yeah, it's an insane gap has been formed from Steph. After that turn 1 incident, he was just able to swoop through. All the cars parted for him, and he's now 2 seconds ahead of Luke J. Gilly, who's in turn 3 seconds ahead of B-Rob. So I think we have our first and second finishers kind of sorted. Although Luke J. Gilly does have a 5-second time penalty, but we will see if that gets removed.
And
but
Connor the Kid, makes the move on the outside going into Ascari and leaving B-Rob in the dust. Gets a better exit from him, and B-Rob will have some work to do in order to make an attempt get by him on the pit lane straight. Meanwhile, Robert, he's got the speed on Darsan, who's just struggling on these old tires. Robert will surely be able to use that grip.
Darsan's been collided. I don't think Rob gave him barely enough room on the inside of Parabolica, and Darsan lost his rear and he slammed on the brakes, and he's now down into P9. Yeah, he's been overtaken by about 4 drivers. We'll see if that gets reported, but yeah, Robert DS left no room on the inside and contacted Darsan and squeezed him onto the grass.
Oh, this is Pitt and Cole battling through turns 1 and 2. Cole will come out ahead. He'll hold on to it. Thankfully, no lunges other than that going into turn 1 and turn 2. And mention the first 2 race finishers. Did you mention that Luke does have that big 5-second penalty?
Yeah, unfortunately. And that was due to a collision between him and... well, hang on a sec. It was Cole, real quick. It's just been pushed onto the gravel on the exit of turn 5, and he's lost a position to Pitt and Sky. He's now in P10, and Pitt gets a 3-second time penalty for track infringements. But yeah, so he's got, so Luke J. Gilly has got a 5-second time penalty, and that was, if I remember, contact between him and another driver. It was, hey, it's Luke here, if you remember. And that was quite a while ago. That was the first safety car. And Luke ended up losing his wing, so it'll be interesting to see if that gets removed. But if it doesn't, PJ, he's going to be all the way down into P5, P6.
Well, and also keep an eye on how that distance from Connor Kidd to Luke Gilly, because, I mean, he has plenty of time to close that gap and get the pass off on track if he does have the superior pace. Luke's sort of up there. Because he was able to get through those incidents without any damage or positions lost, but Connor Kidd and B-Rob may have the pace to catch up to him before the end of the race. So things may not be as safe as they seem. Aside from Steph, I think Steph, as long as he keeps it on the track, has got a good shot to win this one.
Yeah,
Robert.
exactly. A great... Oh, damn. Something just... Oh, Robert goes way over the curbs on the inside of turn 5. Loses his car completely, and Robert does take P4 from him. That's mega. And there is a... Hang on, Cole was epic, has just lost it on the exit of turn 5. Yellow flags are out. Tom Taylor's racing around that turn as we speak. But yeah, Cole was epic. I don't know what position he was fighting in, but he's all the way down in P11 now, which is unfortunate. And it means that Robert DS and Dark Inferno are now next to each other, the two Alpines once again.
Yep, and they're right on the back of B-Rob. And as I mentioned, Connor Kidd already closed that gap to 1.8, and more, just as importantly, has created a gap of 1.6 to the Ferrari of B-Rob. So now B-Rob is the one who is stranded without DRS and on defense from these two Alpine drivers, which does not sound fun to me, as I'm sure you can relate from last season.
Yeah, what's interesting is B-Rob's still sitting on a tank of almost 50% ERS. Meanwhile, the two Alpines only have 6% left. But they go side by side into turn 1, and as expected, Robert DS does get the move into turn 1. It was quite an easy DRS pass to take, but Pitt loses it around turn 1, and he's just lost 2 positions. Because I believe, I don't know whether there was contact with the Haas, but he was battling with Oda heading into turn 1, I believe, and now he's all the way down into P9. But apart from that, the one comment that I was going to make is how little ERS the two Alpines are sitting on.
Yeah.
And that just means that it's going to be easy pickings for B-Rob to overtake on the main straight, or even on this DRS straight right now, heading into Ascari. But he does get a bad exit from Lesmos too, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So I think it's going to be the main start-finish line in which B-Rob's going to pounce all over Robert DS, who's pretty lacking for ERS right now. So yeah, probably easy pickings. But B-Rob just had to break around Ascari then. He kind of lost the rear, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, well,
and that
wait
means
and
that
see.
Yeah, Dark Inferno is only half a second behind. So if it's easy for B-Rob to overtake Robert even, it's going to be even easier for Dark Inferno to overtake B-Rob. So I'm really looking forward to this DRS straight.
You know, don't know if B-Rob has got it. He's 6/10ths back when the DRS kicks in, 4/10ths back now, and knowing B-Rob, he's not going to force anything. Yeah, he'll stay. And it is a question, is Robert goes real deep into that turn 2. Sort of a question of, you know, choosing when you want to overtake, choosing when you want to sit behind someone like Robert and store up ERS. So maybe a question of when B-Rob wants to take that lead back rather than if.
And unfortunately, Skadster's just lost it around Ascari again. He was already in P13, I believe, but now he's last, which is unfortunate. So it'll be interesting to see whether he goes for the fastest lap. And Sky has just exited the pits on a fresh set of softs.
Alright, and meanwhile, Connor Kidd, just like that, is within DRS of Luke J. Gilly. So going into Ascari now, we can probably look to see him close that gap, going into that pit lane straight, and start chasing down Steph. And with the pace that Connor Kidd's showing on the fresher tires than Steph may not be as safe as I thought just a few minutes ago even.
Yeah, Skadster's just retired from the race in the pit lane. I believe that there was such a gap between him and the car in front that he just kind of thought, you know what, let's focus on the next weekend and come back twice as strong, which I can't blame them. But Connor Kidd's got DRS now on Luke J. Gilly, but it is not going to be enough, ladies and gentlemen. He's got quite a big gap heading into turn 1, in fact.
Oh, and B-Rob got within a 10th of Robert, but again, doesn't feel like going for it. Now Dark getting very close to the back end of B-Rob, but these two Alpines and the Ferrari have been in a nice little battle since that safety car restart. Nice to watch them. Bunch of fast, fair racers. Dark, he's going down the inside! And B-Rob manages to close the door. Robert went off into the gravel, though. Almost runs into the front of Dark, and that will mean B-Rob goes ahead into P4. Robert with a rare mistake. Dark making contact at the back of B-Rob on every exit of Lesmo, and now Dark is going to have an easy overtake going into Ascari, I believe.
Oh, no, not at all. It isn't going to be an easy overtake, PJ. And I wouldn't recommend an overtake, but he's going for it anyway. In fact, no, he has backed out. But it's going to be an easy overtake on the start-finish straight. But I must admit, B-Rob does look slow around the middle sector because of Dark Inferno's speed, and in fact he's side by side now heading into Parabolica. Dark Inferno's on the inside, but he yields the position in order to get DRS on the main straight, and it's going to be an easy overtake for B-Rob. But in fact, Robert DS is now alongside Dark Inferno, and they haven't even reached the DRS activation zone yet. He's using all of his ERS, and that has allowed him to overtake Dark Inferno, and he's overtaken B-Rob. In fact, they're 3 wide into turn one.
And B-Rob loses it into the grass, comes back and makes contact into the side of Dark Inferno. Hopefully no damage, but the 2 Alpines wasn't pretty, but they do both get the move on B-Rob. That was some tight racing, and I think B-Rob may have just gotten pushed a wheel off into the grass, which made him lose it for a second there.
Yeah, exactly. The road is not wide enough for 3 cars to go into side-by-side into turn 1. It was absolute mania, and I'm surprised that B-Rob actually came off clean.
Yes, same.
But unfortunately now it's kind of ruined the battle. There's almost a 1.5 second gap between the 3 drivers.
Yep, I think that will tend to cool off for a little bit. Last lap, Connor did get that pass on Luke Gilly, so now Connor already closing within DRS of Steph, even though Luke J. Gilly, not to be mistaken, is keeping up with Connor, and he'll still have a DRS on this next pit lane straight, but I would expect Connor to be able to defend that position pretty hard.
Yeah, however, once again, I'm going to mention the ERS, because it definitely does matter. Connor Kidd has been pushing like mad, and he's only got 4% left. In fact, he's going to run out before he even reaches turn 1, so he's completely out. Meanwhile, Steph's sitting on a big bank of almost just over 40% now, so it'll be interesting to see whether Steph's able to hold off Conakid. But there's a big difference between the 2 drivers' tyres. Steph on 16 lap old mediums, Conakid on 12 lap old mediums. I think, honestly, I was thinking that Steph was going to take this one. He's been in the lead by such a big margin for so long. It'll be crazy to see Conakid overtaken with only a few laps to go.
You have 5 laps left, and that is a very good point. That's the advantage of Steph carrying... Yep.
Luke J. Gilly's just lost it on the exit of Lesmos 1, and his car's now sideways. He just reset to track. Luckily, he was ghosted, because otherwise he would have just killed Robert DS. But, so he's... that is a 5-second time penalty for Luke J. Gilly for resetting to track, I believe.
And Connor's got DRS on Steph just like that. As you mentioned, Steph does have a significant advantage in ERS, and that's the benefit of having such a lead for most of the races. You don't need to be spending that for overtakes. We'll see if he can use it to successfully defend, but he's got 5 laps to do so, and Connor has been slicing through this grid since the last safety car restart. Dark is 5/10 back on a stranded Robert as well. That could get interesting, but I will stay on board for the move into P1 by Connor, going on the outside into turn 1.
Yeah, and it's an easy move, isn't it, for Conakid? Yeah,
and he pulls it off.
Absolutely. What's interesting is the 2 Alpines, Robert DS and Dark Inferno, were side-by-side through turn 1. And in fact, Dark Inferno gets a much superior exit from turn 2 around Curve Grande right now. They're side-by-side.
Oh my
gosh. And I believe Robert DS is kind of let Dark Inferno through a little bit. I imagine he's going to go for a stab at DRS down the main straight.
How often do we see these 2 battling so
side
close?
Side by side.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, in Sochi it was quite common, to be honest. We were kind of robbed of it for Silverstone, but yeah, they've been side by side quite a lot this season. But, you know, I thought at the start of this season that Robert DS just had it. He was such a massive advantage from the rest of the grid in season 1 that I thought he had already won the season before it had even started, to be honest, BJ. But recently I've noticed that a lot of new drivers, well, not only new drivers, but old drivers, have just gone on to another level of pace. And it means that Robert DS, he's kind of all the way down into P4 right now, and he's had an almost perfect race, apart from a collision between him and Dark Inferno, or I don't know what it was, but that ended up causing the second safety car.
I'm super excited to see if Steph can keep up with Connor and maybe plan one more attack before this race finishes. I would love to have a close finish. If not for that, I'm expecting these 2 Alpines to give us a bit to watch. B-Rob has made his way quickly to the back of Luke J. Gilly. Not going to be able to do anything into these first 2 turns, although I would expect him to be making a move perhaps a little bit later, as Luke J. Gilly definitely with more worn tires from that spin out a lap ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating to watch the last few. Mirko sets the fastest lap. I was just about to say that he's on fresh softs, and he does do it. He sets the fastest lap. He's in last place, as is Alfa Romeo teammate Connor Kidd is leading the race. But as the action has kind of cooled down a little bit, it's interesting to kind of discuss how the different kind of ERS deployment levels and the amount that they've got in their battery, and most importantly, the tyre wear difference between some of our drivers will really impact the last 3 laps of our race. But at the moment, I think all eyes are on the 2 Alpines, Robert DS and Dark Inferno. Dark gets a terrible exit from Parabolica.
Dark will have to let Robert have this. Although now is a good time to remind you about that penalty that I suspect is incoming for Robert. Oh, look at B-Rob going on a move on the inside on Luke J. Gilly, but Luke J. Gilly does break a little late. B-Rob manages to close it off with some contact, and they're going to come out side by side and still battling.
Wow, what's interesting is that Luke J. Gilly's still got a 5-second time penalty, so it's interesting to see him still battling and clinging on to B-Rob. And I'm sure it'll be frustrating for B-Rob because he's hoping to just pass Luke and get on the gas as early as possible and try and approach Robert DS. But he's, unfortunately for B-Rob, he's been forced into another battle, another lap of battling with Luke J. Gilly, which is unfortunate for B-Rob, but brilliant for Luke J. Gilly. He really has proven himself as a competitive driver that stays clean, but still really does put on the pressure when it comes to being side by side through these corners.
Yeah, and B-Rob's still with 50% ERS left with 2 laps to go. He's got to start spending that.
Honestly, he could go for fastest lap right now, even though his tyres are a bit old. Monza's all about straight line speed. If he uses that ERS and he gets DRS on Luke J. Gilly, then yeah, we could see B-Rob pit Mirko for the fastest lap. In fact, the fastest lap right now, just quickly checking, is a 1:22.153. So, yeah, definitely achievable for B-Rob.
And Steph has managed to stay within arm's reach of Connor Kidd, about a half-second back. B-Rob going down the inside of Luke J. Gilly, the same exact thing from last lap. Will anything different happen? Luke will not let this position go. He still leaves room for B-Rob on the outside, and B-Rob does come out ahead with the better exit this time. I thought Luke was going to come out battling like last lap, but B-Rob manages to secure the overtake on lap 26, moving up to P5.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's going to ruin any chances of getting the fastest lap, that lap at least, because they were just so slow going side by side through that first chicane, which is unfortunate. Even so, I think a bit of a gap has formed now between Connor Kidd and Steph, and if there was any overtaking opportunity, it would be down the start-finish straight at the start of lap 27. They're not going to get an opportunity at the end of lap 27, but I don't think it's going to happen. I hate to write off a driver like this, but there's almost a second gap between Connor Kidd and Steph, and Connor Kidd's been great in his ability to just pull out that second gap. In fact, I'm not even too sure if Steph's going to get DRS. He was a bit squirrely on the exit of Parabolica, but he does get DRS.
There's almost no debate that Connor Kidd has had the fastest pace today during this race. I mean, he's just gotten past everybody he needs to and then put gaps behind him. So really impressive stuff from him as he looks to get, I believe, his second race win of the season. What's Robert doing?
Whoa.
Yeah, Robert was steering into the grass coming out of turn 2. Last lap. Hopefully these Alpines can just stay out of each other's way. Dark will secure a podium. And Robert, like I said, we'll see what happens when all the penalties get assessed. But he will finish P4 most likely.
Yeah, this has been a really eventful race, and it's kind of coming to the close right now. We've got large gaps between every driver, and it's going to be difficult for any driver to kind of make a move on the final lap. Although Mirko's side by side with Connor Kidd on the exit of turn 1 and 2, they're almost an entire lap behind as Connor Kidd approaches Parabolica right now in P1. But Mirko is able to pit Cole was epic for 11th place, and he does have the fastest lap. But Sky, on the final lap of the race, loses it around Lesmo 1, and he's going to be shitting himself right now. Excuse my French, but he is, as Mirko was 11 seconds behind, and he's only a few seconds behind now, and Sky is going to have to crawl his way around Lesmo 2, and probably around Ascari as well, with his extremely hot tyres. And if he makes one more mistake, Mirko's going to be able to pip him for P10, which is very unfortunate for Sky, losing the rear end like that on the final lap. But he does keep it clean through Ascari, and I think he's got that P10.
Yeah, no, it's close. Mirko is coming for him. He's a little over a second back. I think Sky will be able to hold on. I thought if he didn't have a wing, there may be a chance for Mirko. Sky will hold on to P10, and Connor Kidd crosses the line in P1. Steph will get a P2 finish. Fantastic drive from him. Hardly even showed him on screen because he was leading the race for so long. But it was Connor's race to win. Incredible pace from him today. Great strategy calls. And the two Alpines with a great finish as well, coming up in P3 and P4. B-Rob back in P5.
Wow, that was a crazy result. Robert DS messaging B-Rob that he's really sorry. So like you predicted, I think Robert DS might have been the cause of that second safety car incident.
No, it wasn't.
In fact, no,
it wasn't. He didn't get any pen or warning or anything. There was no yellow flag or anything. He just, sort of lost his brakes going right into the back of B-Rob, which lost B-Rob a bunch of, places. Yeah, he's saying he's pissed that he hit him. Of course, can expect that from such a good racer from Robert. Regardless, he will hold on to that P4 finish, I believe. And a great podium from Mr. Dark Inferno. Great race today.
Yeah, that was an absolute banger. It was a little bit slow at the start, but then we had that massive turn 1 collision, and that was just insane. And then, that second safety car restart, it was absolute carnage. So this has been a brilliant race, and let's just give a quick rundown of the grid. We have Connor Kidd, against all odds, has won this race. Starting from P2, I think he got a little bit of a squirrely middle of the race. I think he must have done an incorrect pit stop or something, because he was all the way down in the midfield at one point, but he's crawled his way all the way back up to P1 extremely quickly. And I'm just going to quickly take a screenshot of the finishing order, just so that I can read the rest of it off, even though our race is finished. So Connor Kidd in P1 after an incredible drive, probably got the most overtakes of the entire race.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Steph...
Do you want to ask if anyone wants to do an interview? I'll let you...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to send a quick message as I kind of run down the grid. So in P2 was Steph, 12.10, and it was a great clean drive from Steph. He ended up being at the right place at the right time after that massive three-way collision on the second safety car, or the safety car restart even. He was just able to dodge all of that carnage and go all the way up and lead the race for the majority of the end of the race. Meanwhile, Dark Inferno, and it's a great result for the two Alpine drivers because they both had a bit of contact this race. I think Dark Inferno lost quite a few positions early on, and then Robert DS lost quite a few positions on that safety car restart. But for both drivers to finish P3 and P4 is exceptional. B-Rob in P5, he's been strong all race, and Luke J. Gilly in P6, even after the 5-second time penalty, which is great. He's a new driver to VFL. This is his first season, and he just continues to impress. We have Oda in P7, Pichulo in P8, Darsan in P9, and Sky in P10. And to be honest, so Mirko in P11 with the fastest lap, actually. So that's the 2 extra points for Alfa Romeo. Cole was epic in P12, and the rest are DNFs, which is Tom Taylor 07 in P13, Skadster in P14, and to be honest, I can't actually see the rest of the grid because it was off, but I believe Carper 99 was in there with the DNF, and some other drivers, Taramax, I believe also DNF. So unfortunate to see for some drivers, but this has been a great race for others, like Steph, and Connor Kidd, he's going to be over the moon. But so I'm just going to invite Dark Inferno. He seems to really want an invite. It'll be great to invite Robert DS as well. So Dark is the first one to be interviewed. But it'll be interesting what other drivers want a bit of an interview, tier 1 interview.
Yeah, I don't think Connor's ever one to interview. Maybe Steph deserves it, I think. Dark, of course. How you doing, buddy? Great race.
Hey man, yeah, it was going well until it didn't, and then it got back good again. So
Yeah, that was a classic. I mean, that was a shitstorm. What happened to you, Robert, and I think Tom Taylor at turn 2? What? I was watching elsewhere, but can you give a little info on that incident?
yeah, sure. I was, safety car restart leading, heading to turn 1. I turned the corner, and all of a sudden I get thrown into the wall. I lost my wing completely. I think Robert, B-Rob, and someone else got away free, and I think Connor Kidd also got away free, and a couple others got binned in the wall, but predominantly it was me. So I had to pit. Luckily there was another safety car, so I caught right back up and had to recover. But the gap to the front two, it was coming down, but it was very hard to close that gap after the incident.
Yeah, it seems like a crazy kind of result. I'm just doing the message. I'm going to invite only 3 drivers for the interviews because we've kind of got to make it snappy. Because it was these interviews always go on for ages because there was just so many drivers to talk to. Because honestly, it's just carnage every single race in VFL. But yeah, so first of all, obviously there was that massive collision that you've just been discussing with PJ. Yes. But also, I mean, you were battling your way through the pack. I remember, I believe it was at the start of the race. You're going to have to tell me exactly what lap, but yeah, like you said, you ended up in turn 1 and turn 2, the first chicane, you ended up being pushed wide onto the gravel, I believe. That was that massive crash, and you ended up going all the way down into like P10, but you ended up coming all the way back up into P3. But what I'm going to talk about is the amount of battles that you had between you and Robert DS, and you were overtaking, honestly, the whole pack. You were a man on a mission, it seemed like, for that race.
Yeah.
And it seemed crazy.
Yeah, well, me and Robert, we had a rough spot. We were down the order a little bit, and we used each other's DRS to climb back up the pack, so we kind of worked together. So credit to him as well for getting P4. Towards the end, we were really trying to push to get that P1 and P2, but I just couldn't do it. And it was GG's with Robert. It was a great race. We did what we could. Great points for the team, but that's as much as we could do.
Yeah, it seemed like a great result for our team because both you and Robert had one incident in that race in which you lost an exceptional amount of positions. And that actually brings me over to Robert DS. You're going to have to tell me exactly what happened, but I remember, yeah, there was a bit of carnage halfway through the race and you ended up losing a load of positions. Kind of talk me through that.
So, do you remember what I did in Russia where I just missed my break point when it's dark? I did the exact same thing.
Oh, I did. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And I was clicking my change camera button by accident, and then I had no idea where I was, no control over the car, and then I think B-Rob was flushed and just forced me off the road, but I don't think it really could have done anything else. And yeah, I was into P10, so I had to find my way back through as well.
Yeah, that was a brilliant fight from both Alpine drivers, to be fair, though, and it seemed like you kind of worked together as a team to take down every single driver that was ahead of you. You ended up both overtaking them almost on the same lap at times, so yeah, brilliant. But you've got to kind of tell me your secret when it comes to the pace, because you were overtaking drivers where overtakes should not be happening.
Was I? I thought I did all my moves on the straight, no?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. It seemed like you were pouncing on drivers left and right, honestly.
Well, I know out of turn 1 I was getting some good exits. I might have made a position or 2 there, but it was, yeah, most of my moves I just kind of dumped my RS. I was probably a bit overly aggressive in the second half of the race. The first half I made myself maybe up to think P3 before the first safety car, so that went really well, but then I just got a bit aggressive, probably forced B-Rob off one too many times. I'd be surprised I get an instant report filed against me there, but yeah.
Yeah, especially I remember at one point you were 3 wide heading into turn 1, and that's when B-Rob was on the outside of turn 1 and he was on the grass and he lost 2 positions. So yeah, it's it was a mad race. That's all I'm going to say. We'll take the rest of it to the steward's room, and it will be interesting to see what happens. But even so, I think that may conclude the interviews, because poor Oda has struggled to join this voice chat. He's joined 2 or 3 times now, and he keeps on getting booted. I think it's due to his internet connection's a little bit laggy, so he may not be able to interview, but I'll wait a little bit. But unfortunately, if he isn't able to join for an interview, then I think we're going to have to call that a day. Which is a shame. Yeah, I don't think Oda's able, which is heartbreaking. But I'll definitely get him on the microphone for next week's race in Saudi Arabia, his home country. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does. But even so, I think that may conclude our interviews. PJ, is there any other questions you want to ask either of the Alpine drivers?
Don't think that's it. Thanks for joining us, fellas. Fun race. See you back here next week. Where are we racing? Who can tell me?
Saudi Arabia.
Oh, right, shit, my bad. I was a bit zoned out. Yep. Saudi Arabia, right. Same time, same place next week. Thanks for joining. VFL Season 2, Round 4. Connor Kidd taking it home. That'll do it from us. Adios.